morning to you, women.
Brother,
my sister.
oh yeah.
Good morning
Wine
to
come
you.
for life.
Good morning to you,
Not check
women.
and not your far.
Good morning to
Today
you.
no be so far.
Good morning to you.
No.
Good morning to you, women.
Issue in the news. Today is the International Women's Day. As women in Cameroon join in the celebrations, we now discover a Cameroonian female poet who has brought honor to the entire nation. Professor Joyce Ashuntantang is an international interdisciplinary scholar and creative writer at the University of Hartford, USA, with various publications to her credit. Her works include Beautiful Fire, recently translated into Arabic by Egyptian poet Amal Gamal, and available to over 240 million new readers. In a WhatsApp conversation with Ngu Henry Tiesambeh, Professor Joyce Ashuntantang, who is based in the United States of America, sheds more light on this milestone in her career.
Professor Ashuntantang, I'm a passionate educator with a vast international experience. I have educated through every medium that has been available to me, through the theater, library, my creative writing, blog posts, public lectures, published texts, and my creative writing, poetry, short stories, and of course the classroom. Many remember me as a star actress in the Yaoundé University Theatre in Cameroon between 1986 and 89 when I was in the university. And I was a founding member of the legendary Flame Players. And recently I created a persona, Mami Caro. And through that persona, I engage with certain questions in the community and provide answers to that. So I bring attention to social issues. And through the classroom, I taught at the Yaoundé Pilot Center before I left for the United States in 1994. And I have been teaching in the US for over 2 decades. That's before I got my PhD in 2003. And of course, I've used the medium of creative writing, poetry, short story, particularly poetry, which I know we would be talking about today. Currently, I am a full professor at the University of Hartford. I love to make knowledge accessible, and so I use whatever means, and that is why I am talking to you at this time.
How many books do you have to your credit?
Yes, I enjoy talking about the books I have published. It's just like talking about my scholarly and literary children. So it's been exciting. A Basket of Flaming Ashes, my first poetry collection, Beautiful Fire, my second volume. And then I published 2 volumes of poetry edited with Debussy Tande. Their Champagne Party Will End, poems in honor of Batibisang, and Bearing Witness, poems from a land in turmoil. Then I have 2 scholarly volumes, Landscaping Post-Coloniality, Dissemination of Anglophone Cameroon Literature, the Routledge Handbook of Minority Discourses in African Literature, edited with Tanere Ojaide. Tanere Ojaide is one of the baobabs of African literature. When I was an undergraduate, I read his works, and he's also one of the leading poets in Africa. And so to have edited this work with him tells me I have also earned my wings in African literature to have this collaboration. As Achebe puts it, when a child washes the hands, they dine with the elders. And I am glad to be dining with elders of African literature, and I believe there's a generation now that looks at me also as an elder. I think I want to draw your attention to another kind of publishing, and this is when I bring my poems to thousands of listeners in poetry festivals around the world. For example, I've been to Colombia, Nicaragua, Bangladesh, Greece, and it's been wonderful to experience that instant publication where your poem beams out in ways that a book may not be able to do.
Could you present the collection which has just been translated into Arabic?
Beautiful Fire was published in 2018 by Spears Books, my phenomenal publisher, And in 2020, it won the prestigious Book of the Year award from the African Literature Association, the premier association for African literature scholars, in the category of creative writing. I would say that in order to really introduce the book, I think I should read one or two poems from there. I would start with the poem Into the Beautiful Fire. I want to come to the forge with you, to see you fashion a new life for me, the tongues of fire licking warm juice from the pores of my body. I want to come to the forge with you, to see your flaming hands sculpt words that travel from my navel, disappearing in that abyss of bliss hidden from sight. Let me faint at your feet in that forge and feel your mouth breathe life from your rivers. Pray, let me come to the forge with you, measure my sweat with the goblet of your heart. Beautiful fire. The second one, Forget Me Not. When I was a child, I measured my steps with bright flowers on the narrow shortcuts to school. Two flowers I still remember. The sunflower at the start of my journey. Its petals like the sun lit my way. I touched it not, for fear I would delay. But for every forget-me-not, I stopped and picked a bunch. They were near my journey's end. The white, blue, and purple always seduced my youthful eyes. I rubbed them on my sweaty nose and brushed them softly against my lips. Many years have gone by, but there's something I want you to know. Each time you rub your nose against mine and pat my lips so softly, my soul whispers tenderly, forget me not.
How did you get to this major milestone?
In 2018, I was amongst 6 poets invited to a poetry festival in Bangladesh. You had Agnes Meadows from the UK, Tendo Taijin from Japan, Ibrahim El Masri from Egypt, Mayo Yitu from Taiwan, Mario Matha from Colombia, and Joyce Ashuntantang from Cameroon / the United States. So when we got there, we had the privilege and the pleasure to share our poems with different audiences. We went to schools, we gave poetry readings to the community, and the poet from Egypt, Ibrahim El Masri, fell in love with my poetry, and he said the Arabic speakers were missing out, and he wanted a situation where my poems can be available in Arabic. And so we talked about it. And of course, I told him that it would be better for a woman to do the translation, because a lot of my poems, it's not just that I am a female poet, but that gender plays a lot in the way I see the world, in the way I develop my metaphors, especially as a good number of my poems are addressing situations that are primordial to womanhood. And when he got back to Egypt, he introduced Amal Gamal to me, an Egyptian female poet. And I spoke with Amal. She read Beautiful Fire, and she was interested in Beautiful Fire. My similes, my metaphors, my images. And so it was quite a challenge for Amal to get into my poetry, try to understand those metaphors that I used, understand them in their context, and then try to translate them into Arabic. I don't understand Arabic, so I couldn't read her translations to know whether they represent my work. I had to depend on other readers who speak Arabic and English to read her translations, share their thoughts with me, and all of them were very excited about her translation. They felt she did a good job. The next thing Amal told me was that she was going to get the Ministry of Information in Egypt involved, because they actually promote translation. They reached out to me and got the copyright for my work.
How has this contributed to expose the work?
Oh my, this translation has exposed my work to new readers. The Arabic translation has been launched in Cairo. Amal Gamal has been on TV stations in Cairo. Newspapers have carried it. My work is now available to potentially 240 million Arabic speakers. My work has been translated to Greek, Spanish, Romanian, Turkish, Hebrew, And now we're talking a whole book.
After this, what next for your readers and the public at large?
Well, I am old school, so I follow the proverb, don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Your last words.
I have been on the go for close to 40 years, and more than half of that time has been spent outside my home country. But I have not kept my home country out of my mind. My work emanates from there. My work is framed by the land of my birth. I have projected the country in different parts of the world. As some people would say, Joyce Ashuntantang from Cameroon to the world. And they're right about that. But I must say that each time I have the opportunity of sharing what I do with my home country, of giving back to my home country, it is the highlight for me.
Professor Joyce Ashuntantang, thanks for being our guest on Issue in the News over the national station of the CRTV.
Thank you, Mr. Ngu Henry, for taking the time to chat with me. Thank you for giving me a platform to share my work with my home community in Cameroon.
And thank you very much for that insightful interview. This is a remarkable achievement by Professor Joyce Ashuntantang, showcasing the talent and creativity of a Cameroonian woman on the international stage, and her work not only enriches the literary world but also serves as an inspiration for aspiring writers, especially women in Cameroon and beyond. And on International Women's Day, Professor Ashuntantang's success highlights the importance of recognizing and celebrating the achievements of women in all fields, including literature and academia. It serves as a reminder of the immense contributions that women make to society and the need to create more opportunities for them to excel.